Inside the game in Woldberry Forest, sunlight shines through the trees. Breathless and hurt, a young man faces the situation with difficulty. Hidden, he observes a terrible scene. Several warriors were defeated by a brute. A man wonders what to do since the target hasn't appeared. Your companion looks thoughtful. With a cold look, the woman makes a decision. She orders them to finish him off. Immediately, the muscular giant raises his axe ready to attack. The victim on the ground widens his eyes, realizing his imminent end. Suddenly, a figure appears at high speed to intervene. Then Giant appears. Your friends shout your name in relief when you arrive. The soldiers recognize him as Hurkin. They shout for him to decide to attack together. Hurkin faces enemies with glowing eyes, ready for battle. Moving quickly, he attacks the soldiers. The broth starts to spread around the place. Without difficulty, the hooded man overtakes opponents lying on the ground. Hurkin confidently states that attacking him together makes no difference. They just can't beat him. His real name is An Jayan, the well-known hero slayer. One of the friends apologizes to Jayan. He says it's their fault for falling into the ambush. Surprised, the white-haired young man shakes his head. He then asks why the other is apologizing. A faintly glowing green energy surrounds his outstretched hand. Offering help, the protagonist says he is fine. He just asks his companion to get up. Supporting Jayan, the protagonist comments that it really wasn't their fault. He then directs the blame to the useless member who always lags behind. According to him, the girl does not have the necessary skills. In front of the woman, the protagonist asks if she is right. She is useless. She remains silent without responding. Stepping forward, the girl in the blue outfit comments on the touching friendship. She asks why they are acting so sentimental. Together with her two companions, the woman advances towards the group. She begins to say that even if the trash accumulates. Finishing her speech, she states that nothing will come of this. We find out that her name is Sira, also known as the Thunder Queen. The protagonist laughs and teases her by asking who grinds her teeth and attacks every time she is defeated by the trash. Sir tells him to watch his mouth. He just warns her not to regret it and cry later. With a confident smile, the protagonist asks about regret. At the same time, he activates a device on his wrist that begins to glow. A robotic voice says slot on his blue dice wrap around your body. Clearly some ability was activated. Instantly, the young man appears in new black and gold armor. He also wears a mask and wields a different sword. Laughing beneath his mask, he states that regret is something only weaklings like her feel. Completely shocked and angered, Sira calls him an arrogant bastard. She then orders her companions to finish him off. Even when pierced by a sword, he laughs without realizing it. He questions whether the enemy never learns and states that he can never truly be defeated. Suddenly, a different look takes over the masked man's face. Something seems to have changed in his expression. Confused, the masked man coughs. He notices other people watching in the shadows behind him. Red juice drips from the blade. Various system notifications appear, warning of rapid loss of HP and restriction of movement. Falling to the ground, Jalin questions the meaning of this. A voice apologizes for having deceived the boy. Revealing his betrayal, the man in the fur coat justifies his actions. He says everyone needs to earn a living and asks them not to be hated. The protagonist is completely shocked by the betrayal. Suddenly, he hears a mocking laugh. A woman with long dark hair and a blue uniform appears, laughing loudly. His laugh is full of contempt. Approaching, the woman calls the protagonist stupid. She asks if he really believed in the fantasy of friendship, because money is more important. Standing over the fallen man, the woman reveals her name, Hurkin. She threatens to take him out of the game, chasing him every time he enters. With a confident smile, the antagonist states, not even he will be able to progress from there. Falling to the ground, the protagonist breathes with difficulty. Your enemy reminds you of your own words about being useless outside of the game. With an evil look, the antagonist mocks. Unfortunately for him, he ended up being trash again. His hand sinks into the earth with force. An angry sound escapes through his teeth. Furious, Giant charges at his opponent, demanding that she shut that mouth immediately. Intense eyes stare into each other as red droplets fly through the air. Surrounded by the forest, the boy is attacked by several people, while the girl on the floor thanks everyone. Fallen and injured, Giant asks why the attack. He reminds everyone how much he dedicated himself to the guild. Angry, one of the attackers tells Jayan to die quickly, revealing that they offered millions for his head. In disbelief, the boy wonders if it's all just for money, remembering again how much he did for them. The young man's face shows all the anger and feeling of betrayal. The traitors watch him with evil smiles. Giant asks if they weren't a family, cursing the situation. The screen goes dark, showing several red danger and death warnings. A large warning message informs you that he has died. As a penalty, you will not be able to log in for 48 hours. Suddenly, Giant wakes up panting, ripping off the VR equipment. He is in a messy room. With a look of despair, he realizes that he has lost everything. This was the Warlord's virtual world. The game Warlord became a huge global success, as we see in the live broadcast of a dragon attack. Being an AI virtual reality game that makes a lot of money, Warlord was the only thing he was good at. Unlike the game in real life, it was always called trash. After defeating a green monster, a man praises the white-haired boy's level, calling him amazing at the game. Reaching, the man invites the boy to form a guild. This was the only place he felt he belonged, or at least that was the case. However, the memory disappears. Now in anger, he crumples something in his hand. The young man goes over the papers thinking about how he will find them and eliminate them all. Looking at his cell phone, a call from Dongzu appears. The protagonist questions why he went through so many difficulties. All this just so those bastards can live well without him. The pedestrian signal turns red when a truck approaches quickly. Regrettably, he thinks that if he had known how things would turn out, he wouldn't have done it. Tears stream down the boy's face. He looks completely desperate in that moment of realization. Cross the street at high speed. The young man reflects that he should never have cared about anyone else in the first place. Suddenly, the truck hits him head-on. He falls, spilling the red broth across the crosswalk. Screams are heard in the background saying someone has been hit. Falling to the ground, the boy agonizes. Your broken cell phone shows that the call cannot be completed. He regrets that, of all things, he was run over by a garbage truck. Despite the pain, the young man grits his teeth. He thinks to himself that he can't leave now. The memory of the traitor Dongsu resurfaces. He told the protagonist to leave. He mentioned that they offered hundreds of millions to eliminate him. The boy curses him as the bastard who set him up. Another memory of a girl with a mischievous smile appears. His thoughts begin to form the idea of what he needs. Take brutal revenge on them all. That's the final determination in their eyes as life slips away. Suddenly, a dark screen with loading circles appears. The words connection and user verification in progress appear. Finally, a system window opens. A message welcomes user Hirkin. The protagonist opens his eyes slowly, without understanding where you are. A system window suddenly appears. The mission is to complete the tutorial by surviving the Minotaur. Below, the menacing monster watches the fallen bodies. Surprised, the white-haired boy questions the tutorial mission. At that moment, someone calls him a newbie. Immediately, the other players tell him to stop traveling. They must unite to take down the menacing, roaring creature. Analyzing the situation, they realize that it is impossible to defeat the animal alone. The three will need to fight together to win. Platinum reminds us that the Minotaur was removed 5 years ago. It was a very difficult boss for the tutorial. One of the players questions this date. Falling to the ground, the protagonist hears that he is talking nonsense. The Warlord game was released just 10 months ago. This leaves him even more lost. Processing the information, he thinks about 10 months. Nothing seems to make sense in your head. Muttering, he accepts that it was only 10 months. His companions find his behavior very strange. Ignoring the strangeness, the player tries to create a plan. When he gives the signal, everyone must attack together. But Platinum simply drops the sword. Turning his back, he begins to walk calmly. The other player asks what he thinks he is doing. Suddenly, the boy runs towards danger. The allies scream, asking if he has gone crazy. Without listening, he continues to advance against the Minotaur. The creature prepares a powerful blow. The players shout that we will miss you. The giant axe comes down with full force. At the last second, a bluish energy surrounds the protagonist. With a penetrating gaze, he faces the monster head-on. The blue aura appears to protect him from the impending impact. With a powerful blow from the shining sword, the protagonist strikes the enemy. Lots of red broth flies everywhere. Shortly after the blow, the giant monster collapses, completely defeated. Two spectators are completely shocked. One of them asks if the boy defeated the monster with a single blow. When called, the protagonist turns his face. He looks a little uncomfortable and has red spots on his face. Impressed, the spectator praises the boy's talent, then extends his hand offering an invitation to his guild. Faced with the proposal, the protagonist's gaze becomes cold and intense. He looks suspicious. Turning his back, the young man refuses the offer. He claims he made a decision recently, leaving the others confused. With a slight smile on his face, he recalls his recent decision. The decision was clear: if I trusted people again in this life. With red eyes, he completes his thought. I would just be a dog if I made that mistake. We then discover the name of the protagonist, Hirkin, the executioner of heroes, who has apparently regressed in time. The scene changes and Hirkin awakens. He is sitting in some sort of futuristic capsule with a visor on his head. Surprised, he looks around. The place looks very familiar to Hirkin. Hirkin realizes where he is. It's a store full of gear equipment with a lot of people around. Thinking better, he remembers, 5 years ago I was broke and I used to play on the demo devices in these stores. The penny finally drops. Hirkin wonders if he really managed to go back in time. Then he grabs the virtual reality helmet, because he has things to do. Running through the crowd, the boy remains determined. After all, he has 5 years of future information and also a lot of experience. Using this, your revenge will be guaranteed. Arriving at the counter, he plays his card, ordering the base V-Gear model. The attendant seems surprised by your haste. She offers to help with the purchase. With a strange smile, he is already thinking about his next steps, ignoring the girl who tries to get his attention. Unfortunately, the girl informs him that he doesn't have enough money. The boy's face turns pale at the news. A small word of frustration almost escapes. Damn, it's true, he remembers. If I had money, I would have already bought the equipment. That's why he was there in the first place. Desperately, he wonders what to do. Making money now would take a long time. Your mind then asks you what you are waiting for. Looking at an ad, he sees a motivational message. The strong never fear challenges and hesitation is a luxury. Becoming a warlord is the goal. The model in the ad is number 1, Seer, Queen of Thunder. In front of a giant screen, the name Warlord shines brightly. The boy looks at the panel without saying anything, lost in thoughts. A dark voice calls him trash again. He just silently agrees. Decided, the young man knows there is no time to waste. Arriving at your home, the sun is already setting. Inside the room, a futuristic capsule catches the eye. A technician confirms the installation of the V-Gear equipment. He says goodbye and leaves. Considered, the protagonist looks for the fastest way to get money. Then he finds a suspicious card offering loans to players. Sitting in a dark room, he asks if he can have 10 million won. The man confirms, smiling. However, the loan shark shows that there is a condition. Quickly, a sharp object passes through the card on the table. With an evil look, the man warns him that his life will become hell if he doesn't pay. Drops of sweat run down the boy's face, visibly tense about the situation. Clutching the letter in your hand, he decides to ignore the danger and move on. Put on the helmet, the young man says he would go to hell to catch those bastards. The connection begins. Memories of unpleasant faces arise in your mind. Nervous, he shouts to connect quickly. While the digital effects shine, a message appears. The system is identifying the user. Identification is confirmed. His name is Herkin. Welcome to the Warlord game. Herkin comments that it has been a while. He waits for someone who should arrive soon. Her name appears to be Ari. A message congratulates you for passing the tutorial. Suddenly, a golden light begins to appear in the skies. Of this light, a female figure with long blonde hair begins to descend. The woman introduces herself as Ariadne. She is there to help with your career. Herkin confirms that it is herself. Extending his shining hand, Ariadne calls the young man an adventurer. The guide informs him that he now needs to choose between the basic classes. According to Ariadne, there are 3 basic classes available. The skills he chooses to level will determine the specific class he will have in the future. The first option is Warrior. They fight on the front lines with bladed weapons. Ariadne recommends it to anyone looking for action. Herkin thinks about Warrior. He knows he would level up quickly because he has done it before. But playing alone becomes difficult later, so he passes this class. Next is the Cleric. They use healing power to buff and heal others. Herkin also passes this one. With the emergence of few friends, the protagonist refuses to take care of others. The blonde then smiles, holding up a shiny item. She says there is only one choice left. Up close, the girl wishes him to have a fun trip. Launching golden energy, the girl surrounds the protagonist, leaving him surprised by the power. Golden threads of power completely cover him. The system informs you that a basic class has been chosen, starting teleportation to the corresponding tower. In an imposing tower, the boy appears, being welcomed by a floating old man who seeks knowledge. Introducing himself as Galko, the old man reveals himself to be the guide on the path of magic, a mage-class NPC. Galko then asks what kind of magic the young man wants to learn. Without hesitation, the protagonist responds to black magic. The request leaves the guide completely confused. The old man thinks he heard wrong about earth magic because of his age. But the boy repeats that he wants to learn black magic. Shocked, the guide asks where the boy heard about this, explaining that it is powerful, but leads the user's soul to ruin. The young man claims to be aware. With a firm look, the protagonist says he knows the risks, and that's why he asks the old man to teach him. It has to be black magic. Visibly nervous, the guide seems very shaken by the request. Suddenly, the old man turns into a skull enveloped in dark energy, revealing that this was what he needed for everything to go well. The skeletal Galko comments that it has been a while, ever since a brat chose to follow this dark path. A mysterious figure instructs the boy to access the skill book if he is really ready. Warning that the choice must be made carefully, the protagonist is thoughtful for a moment. Ignore the warning about how difficult the path is for beginners. He quickly places his hand on the shiny book, stating that he is not one of those newbies. The boy says to go ahead with the choice. Hearing this, the mysterious entity begins to laugh sinisterly and loudly. Finding the boy interesting, the voice comments that it's been a long time since someone like that appeared. At this moment, the protagonist remembers a famous video from his past life, was a single-player Necromancer. In the video, this player faced a boss completely alone, just with his undead army. Now our protagonist realizes that he desperately needs that kind of power. Immediately, the system congratulates you on becoming a Necromancer. he receives the title of Beginner Necromancer and learns the Skeleton Fragment skill. With a smile on his face, the boy tests his new skill. A glowing skull fragment appears in his hand and is thrown to the ground. Upon reaching the ground, the fragment begins to break. A message informs you that a skeleton warrior consumes mana to take shape. Before the eyes of the protagonist, the creature begins to form from the ground. Quickly, the warrior skeleton finishes forming enveloped in blue flames. The boy then declares that he will be a necromancer in this life. Satisfied with the result, the beginning necromancer decides it's time to level up and looks for the training dungeon. Suddenly, a skeleton warrior loses his head. She falls rolling across the floor. Standing in a strange location are the protagonist and the skeleton. The place looks like a giant digital library. Suddenly, a blue energy begins to rotate around the place. In the midst of blue energy, someone puts their foot on the ground. Within the blue energy, the protagonist sighs. A message informs him that he has entered the beginner training dungeon. Confused, the boy realizes that the skeleton is different from the ones he knew. He then decides to check his skills window. His skill skeleton fragment is rank F, only allows you to summon one at a time. He reads the description carefully. Realizing his low proficiency, the young man concludes that he needs to increase his level urgently. With a careful look, he hears a growl approaching. From the darkness emerge 3 coal wolves. They are training monsters. The boy thinks they arrived at the right time. With a smile, he notes that wolves are fast, perfect for a test. Blue energy builds in his hand as he readies the skill. Throwing the energetic skull towards the wolves, the protagonist shouts for it to move forward. Near the wolves, the energy explodes with a strong impact. From the blue energy, a warrior skeleton materializes. He wields a sword made of bones ready to fight. With one eye glowing blue, the skeleton lets out a war cry. 3 shadowy wolves with red eyes advance menacingly through the cave. With a confident smile, the boy orders his skeletal lackey to eliminate them. Immediately, the skull advances towards the 3 ferocious canines. Surprised, the boy realizes that his performance is better than expected. This way, he will reach maximum level quickly. Unexpectedly, the warrior's bones shatter in the air to the summoner's astonishment. Confused, the albino doesn't understand what happened there. Soon after, the creature's skull falls right at his feet onto the rocky ground. Looking closely, the skull seems a little embarrassed by the awkward situation. Completely stunned, the protagonist is unable to process the bizarre scene. Noticing something is strange, he quickly opens the skill window. There it is described that the summoned creature learns from combat. Additionally, the user can define a default action mode. Relieved, the boy realizes that he forgot to set a mode. He then commands defense mode number 1 for the skull. In defensive mode, the reformed skull can only resist the wolves' attacks without fighting back. Finding this curious, the protagonist considers trying mode number 3, special action. To his surprise, a notification warns him that the skeleton warrior has started dancing wildly among his enemies. Desperate, the protagonist cries when he realizes that he is screwed. The skeleton next to him seems to scoff, saying he tried to warn you. In agony, the boy feels like he is going crazy. A notification informs you that the character cannot be deleted because the account is less than 3 months old. In addition to not being able to delete the character, he also cannot change class. To make matters worse, loan payments start the following month. The boy thinks about having another accident again. With his hand on his forehead, the young man laments why nothing works for him, especially now that it seemed like things were finally looking up. To top it off, the stupid skeleton doesn't seem to help at all either. This only makes the protagonist angrier with the creature. Angry, the boy shouts for silence from the skeleton. He then wonders how the necromancer he saw in the past life dealt with minions like that. A system window then reveals a crucial detail about the minion. The summoned creature has a learning system and learns through combat. The protagonist then recalls a key moment. When he faced the coal wolves earlier, the skeleton was just observing his actions. This was not just observing, the skeletal creature was directly learning from its movements. With a determined new look, the protagonist catches the skeleton's attention. The creature immediately turns to him, appearing attentive. The boy then says that the lackey is lucky to have a master like him. He claims that despite appearances, he was once called a genius and trained members of his guild to the top. The protagonist continues, telling the skeleton to remember a single thing in combat. The skull just tilts its head, awaiting instructions. With a fierce look, he demonstrates the first teaching. The number 1 rule of combat is, if you don't dodge, you disappear. The training then begins roughly. The skeleton is knocked down again and again, with the master shouting to try again. Even after being beaten, the skull rises again determined. She prepares for her master's next attack. By narrowly avoiding the protagonist, he avoids the skeleton's attack. The blow hits the ground with considerable force. With a powerful blow, the smaller skeleton is thrown against the ground. The force of the impact raises dust. The boy shouts at the skeleton not to stay still when hit. He needs to think about what to do next. You have to look for an opening after dodging, then attack with everything. The skeletal creature appears to have understood the rebuke. He grabs his makeshift weapon. Wielding his club, the skeleton now appears ready. He awaits the next enemy. Suddenly, two monstrous wolves appear snarling. They advance towards the bone creature. By ducking quickly, the skeleton avoids the wolf's bite. The beast passes right through him. Using his club, the skeleton manages to block the attack. He counterattacks then. From afar, the protagonist watches his servant fight. The skeleton now deals with the two barking wolves. The skeleton appears to seek approval by looking back. The protagonist asks what he is looking at. The master reminds him not to be distracted during battle. However, the boy gives a slight sideways smile. He admits that the creature's last move wasn't so bad. Various system messages appear on the screen. Skeleton fragment proficiency is increasing. Both begin to glow brightly. Satisfied, the protagonist says that the skeleton passed the test. A notification informs you that the player's level has increased. Then the scene changes to the beginner's village, located in Figus Castle. Walking through the busy village, the protagonist reflects. He thinks it was worth the effort to teach the skeleton. With a few more days of training, he will be able to complete the dungeon alone. Our white-haired protagonist thinks the real challenge begins now. First, he needs to reach level 10. Suddenly, a voice catches your attention from behind. Grabbing his shoulder, a brute asks if he shouldn't apologize. The white-haired boy realizes that they are just third-rate criminals. Angered by the waste of time, the boy wonders if he should just deal with them. Furious at the boy's side, the bandit asks what kind of person does that. He then tries to land a punch. Unexpectedly, a blond man wearing sunglasses appears and grabs the attacker's wrist. Our protagonist is surprised by the sudden appearance. With a calm smile, the blonde says that you shouldn't go around attacking people, sir. The attacker asks who the blonde is and if she is with the boy. The newcomer responds that not exactly. Our protagonist feels like he knows this man. A bead of sweat runs down the boy's face as he tries to process who is there. Angry, the bandit insists on asking who he is. The blonde calmly responds that not really. The boy's expression changes. He is now certain about that man's identity. Looking closer at the protagonist, he notices the newcomer's defined muscles. Adding this to that strange fashion for sunglasses, there is no doubt the protagonist is sure of who he is. That man is Mathador Shev, the highest-ranked warrior from his past life. Completely shocked, the protagonist wonders what the hell he is doing there. A cry of surprise escapes. Irritated, the big blonde guy stumps on the ground looking at the other guy. Nervous, the bully tells the blonde not to get involved. He claims he was hit first. He even mentions the saying, eye for an eye. The blonde smiles uncomfortably. Suddenly, the man releases an intense red aura. Powerful energy affects everyone around you. The pressure of the aura surprises the attacker. The white-haired boy also reacts scared. With a menacing smile, the big guy says that the boy hit his palm with his fist. His eyes glow red. The blonde then asks if he should do the same to him. The bully is terrified. Someone screams, desperately revealing that that man is Mathador Shev. They reveal that Shev is the leader of the Red Bulls Guild, one of the top 30 guilds, known for loving to fight. Shocked, the boy doesn't believe what he hears. He wonders why someone like Shev would be there. Approaching the scared boy, Shev asks what his answer will be now. Without thinking twice, the bully bows and desperately apologizes. The blonde laughs loudly. Shev says he's glad they resolved everything with words, leaving some confused. Placing his arm around the boy's shoulder, Shev asks if he's okay and says to ignore the attacker. Unexpectedly, the white-haired boy pushes Chev's hand away. He states that he will no longer need help. Surprised, the blonde watches the boy pass. This guy looked really cold. Angry, the white-haired boy quickly disappears. At that moment, the blonde felt the pressure coming from the boy. Clenching his fist, he thinks about the next meeting. Walking away, the boy promises to be someone completely different in the future. Inside a cave, the young man reflects on the great difference in power between them. The boy remembers that Shuro and Chev have similar skill levels. Aiming for revenge, he needs to become much stronger. Suddenly, a huge stone tiger roars in front of the boy. Immediately, a skeleton warrior advances against the tiger under the boy's gaze. With full force, the skeleton hits the stone beast. A message informs that the skeleton hunted the cold tiger. The system notifies you that the boy has increased his level. It took 3 days to reach level 10. The time was longer than the boy expected. Apparently, the skeleton doesn't look very happy. The young man finds his assistant's reaction strange. Congratulations on reaching level 10. The system warns that there are no more monsters in the training dungeon. Your starting symbol has been removed and rewards are coming. Finally, the boy thinks with relief. As a reward, he receives a war clock. The item has functions such as status missions, inventory map, and messenger. All are standard game tools. It had been a while since the boy felt like this. With a smile, he asks to open the status window. Through the watch, Herkin sees his updated status. Now at level 10, he is a Necromancer with his attributes renewed. A notification appears asking him to spend his attribute points. He has strength, resistance, intelligence, and mana points to distribute. With his first stat points to spend, Hirken thinks he needs to be wise in this choice. Generally, a Necromancer would choose to increase mana or intelligence to strengthen their abilities. Contrary to logic, Hirken decides to put all his available points into strength. Instantly, an aura surrounds him. His strength was increased by 50 points at once, reaching a total of 53 points of strength. Hirken gives a satisfied smile with his decision. Soon after, he turns into a skeleton that is curled up on the floor. The Necromancer asks what he thinks he is doing there. The boy punches himself in the skull. Hirken explains that he hasn't given up on being a Necromancer, which he is trying to teach her. Increasing mana or intelligence now wouldn't have much of an impact. In contrast, by increasing his strength, he can teach the skills he had at his peak. Hirken bets everything on the skeleton's growth. Holding the skull's shoulder, he says that anyway, she just needs to focus on training now. With a smile and a thumbs up, he adds that after all, there are other ways to compensate for the lack of attributes. Sometime later, Hirken arrives at the Plunderers Association in the Figus Castle branch. Inside the place, the Necromancer seems to be looking for something. He soon finds a letter that represents a new mission. The place quickly turns into chaos with adventurers fighting. Hirken notes that the missions are not that good, but everyone is excited, perhaps because they are newbies. Arriving at the counter, the protagonist asks to take a look at the list of missions, leaving the old man surprised by the request. The old man allows it, but warns that these are very difficult tasks that no one wants to take on. He then questions whether the boy is confident. In fact, the missions look pretty bad from the protagonist's perspective. However, this is where your strategy comes in. Removing one of the cards, he reveals his trump card. The boy then smiles at having found what he was looking for. The chosen mission is in the Bima Mountain Cave. The objective is to eliminate all nearby monsters worth 10 gold. The bearded old man asks if he's sure. Since it's a low-level quest that's worth little, the protagonist confirms and receives the task. Completing this seemingly boring quest before level 15, he thinks to himself, it will be possible to obtain a super rare title called Prospectus. Getting titles increases attributes as shown in the example. Amateur Mage grants points in mana and intelligence. This particular Prospectus title is even better, increases attributes by percentage, 3% being intelligence and mana. In other words, this will begin your career as a broken character. The protagonist is clearly excited about the idea. Taking the first steps, he starts to move. Now with a smile on his face, he decides to start with the equipment. Arriving at the place, we saw the landscape of Bima Mountain. Suddenly, the protagonist's face changes to a serious expression, and it is revealed that he is wearing a jester outfit with bunny ears. What an incredible look. Through the forest, we see an adventurer wearing a very peculiar rabbit outfit. Very angry, the boy lets out a cry of frustration. He explains that he ran out of money after purchasing items for his skeleton, so he only got this outfit. Determined, the bunny decides that he will do the mission as quickly as possible to get new clothes. Speeding through the forest, he quickly disappears from sight. Suddenly, a hand covered in red broth appears from the ground. We soon see a seriously injured man on the ground. He desperately begs for help. Hidden in the darkness, two suspicious individuals observe the scene with sinister laughter. The scenery changes to a clear sky with glowing particles. A feeling of beginning emerges. Multi then appears, declaring the start of their adventure on Bima Mountain. Already at level 11, Multi feels very good in the game. He thinks he might even become a ranker at this rate until he hears a scream. When he turns around, he finds a boy asking for help for his friend lying on the ground. Multi asks in surprise what happened. The young man explains that they were attacked by an unknown monster. The fallen guy looks really bad and they don't have any healing potions. Multi then says he has some and offers to help. The boy thanks him, very relieved by the kindness. With your red eyes shining, the monster promises to take revenge on the knight. On the ground and seriously injured, the knight coughs a little and thanks whoever is in front of him. But both men smile mischievously, saying that they will use the knight's items in the best way. Realizing betrayal, the knight calls them cowards before being interrupted by the white-haired man. Smiling smugly, the gray-haired man responds what a fool he was for falling for that trick. A system window appears warning that the player Multi's journey has ended. His body then disappears into particles. The system informs that the player's clock has fallen. The item is left in place. Gathered with his friends, the bearded man comments on how fun it is to trick newbies and laughs at the player's reaction. With a crazy look and holding the watch, the gray one tells them to find their next prey. They are from the PK Ralph family guild. Elsewhere, a lone skeleton warrior is surrounded by monstrous wolves in a dark forest. Without wasting time, the creatures quickly advance to attack the skeleton. Observing from afar, a boy in a hood activates attack mode with a gesture. Following the order, the skeleton warrior immediately attacks enemies. With a swift swing of his sword, the skeleton easily defeats one of the monstrous wolves. Defeat more creatures, the skeleton receives 375, 366, and 379 experience. His master realizes that with a sword, wolves are no match. Confirming your decision, he thinks getting the equipment for the skeleton first was the right thing to do. A real player would do that. The protagonist wears a strange rabbit hood, showing that utility is more important than appearance. The skeleton thinks he is a poor owner, as the boy asks what he is thinking. Tired of the delay, he orders the skeleton to follow him. They need to level up quickly to get out of there. Following orders, the skull attacks with its sword. A bright light shines on impact. Suddenly, an arrow hits the skeleton's head. The boy is shocked by the surprise attack. Turning around quickly, they see who shot. The person shouts, apologizing. A group of adventurers appears. The leader scratches his head, explaining that he mistook the skeleton for a monster from afar. The leader apologizes again, but the protagonist responds that everything is fine, leaving the other confused. One scene shows an item being worn on the arm, perhaps to recover energy or mana. The boy looks at the group with a smile. He will forgive them if they compensate with a mana potion. The group admits to not having potions. They suggest an alternative, help the protagonist level up to recover mana. The protagonist asks if it's okay to do that. The leader confirms yes. After all, it was their fault and they want to make up for it. Conveniently, some lizard monsters appear in the forest, arriving just in time. The group leader explains the plan. They will weaken the monsters, and the protagonist just needs to finish. He agrees. The gray-haired man asks if his partner remembers the plan. The other quickly confirms. First, the brute will attract the creature's attention to him. Then the wizard will cast an attack buff on the monsters. He plans to target the protagonist by pretending to be a mistake. From the target's perspective, the monster advances furiously. Desperate, the white-haired boy screams, expecting the worst. The conspirators smile awaiting the result. However, they are surprised and breathe a sigh of relief. To their surprise, the protagonist is right next to a skeleton. He complains to the skull, saying it could have been bad. With a thumbs up, the boy says everything is great and asks them to continue. Enemies wonder how his summon is so strong. Suspecting that the goal level is higher than it seems, they begin to think of a new plan. Determined, they send several monsters to attack the boy at once. While the protagonist is busy with the monsters, the brute sneaks up on him. The big man then attacks with his club, trying to finish the boy. At full strength, the attack is delivered directly against the target. Shocked, the attacker realizes what happened. The protagonist managed to dodge the blow. The boy quickly retaliates, hitting the surprised enemy with a blast of blue energy. Scared, the boy sees a skeleton fighting others in the forest. Suddenly, a hand grabs the protagonist. Soon after, the blue energy skeleton appears. Wasting no time, the skeletal creature charges towards its targets. Terrified, the two try to talk, but the skeleton attacks without hesitation. The pair are thrown away by the blow, while the hooded man just watches. When approaching one of the fallen, the boy says he knows this type of person well. He accuses them of betraying those who trust them to steal everything, stating that this tactic no longer works. Desperately, the target begs forgiveness and offers items, but the hooded man just cries for him. Raising the gun, the protagonist declares that he no longer trusts people. A notification appears informing the elimination of the player Ralph. 8 vigils were left behind, leaving the boy surprised. With a smile, the young man decides that he will make good use of the items, starting with the clothes. Meanwhile, the skeleton finishes the work with the other member of the group. Turning to his servant, the hooded man asks if he would like something for himself. Then the boy extends his hand, emitting blue energy towards the skull. With this, the skeleton is now equipped with some basic items and a sword. The skeleton seems happy with its new look. Our prota then comments that appearance is not important in a game. Striking a pose, the protagonist states that the important thing is the interior, leaving the skeleton confused by the situation. With a smile on his face, he comments that war watches were very valuable. Selling another player's war clock grants a random item from your inventory. Rare items may appear, such as pants that give 5 more mana and intelligence, or even swords that give 10 more mana. Even skill books like Demon's Curse can appear. Coins are also a possibility, and the prota goes crazy with happiness. He says that thanks to these items, he was able to make something new. It ended up being a HAHO mask that was ready quicker than expected. Whitehair then reveals that he will record his gameplay. That's why creating a good identity is very important now. The idea is that everyone in the guild wears a HAHO mask so they can easily go viral. Excitedly, he then suggests that the guild name be HAHO Mask. The young man admits that he thought about continuing with a completely different identity. However, he didn't want other people to steal his things again. Therefore, the mask now glows with power. Determined, he says he will use this to prove he was right all along. Then he puts on the mask, which now glows with menacing red eyes. In front of an imposing rock formation, a blue portal marks the entrance to a dungeon. Passing through the portal, the protagonist and his skeleton companion enter the cave dungeon of Bima Mountain. Inside the dark cave the boy ponders, he believes that blue werewolves inhabit this place. Confident with your new equipment, he believes the dungeon is now possible. Your goal is to complete it in 10 minutes. Motivated, the duo advances to the cave ready for action. A few hours pass while the skeleton appears calm. The protagonist is on the floor exhausted, wondering why. Surprisingly, the cave is empty. Frustrated, the young man questions the total absence of monsters. This is very strange, thinks the boy. There should be a notification if the dungeon has already been completed. He thinks it's a system bug. Suddenly, the protagonist has an idea. They both observe an ominous purple energy rising from the ground. Quickly, the energy expands, forming a large purple vortex before them. A toast notification appears. He discovered an instant dungeon called the Stage. Now he understands the lack of monsters. These special dungeons appear randomly. Disable the normal dungeon until they are completed. They are twice as difficult but offer superior rewards. The big problem is revealed. Either the player completes the instant dungeon or dies inside with no return. Thinking logically, it would be better to give up. A failure would result in a 2-day lockout. Doing other missions seems safer, however. His determination surpasses logic. The notification confirms your entry to the stage. Surrounded by a sinister purple aura, the protagonist declares that he just needs to clean the place. Beside him floats a small skeleton. With a concentrated look, the adventurer realizes that he is in a giant arena. It looks like an old coliseum. The masked man confirms that it is a coliseum and admits that it is a little scary. He wonders what comes next. Suddenly, the protagonist feels something bad approaching. A feeling of danger takes over him. Before them, a huge and threatening creature appears, a giant werewolf with a furious look. A window reveals the monster's identity is a corrupted werewolf of unknown level. Before finishing your question about the monster being corrupted, the protagonist is attacked by the creature. With a powerful blow, the werewolf throws the masked man away. The skeleton observes the scene. The impact is strong and the young man lets out a grunt of pain. Amidst the raised dust, the little skeleton advances quickly. He will face the monster. The skeletal warrior grows ready for battle. Meanwhile, the protagonist gives a small smile. Even trapped in the broken wall, the masked man begins to laugh loudly. He realizes that corrupted monsters are linked to the main quest and thinks he is lucky. Coming out of the rubble, he calls out to his skeleton companion. The young man warns that if they don't defeat the creature, with intense gaze and shining eyes, he completes the sentence. Today they will be without dinner. Motivated by hunger or the mission, the duo advances together. They go after the corrupted werewolf. In combat position, the skeleton stares at its opponent with glowing eyes. Quickly, the skull misses the protagonist. Bouncing against the purple light, the white-haired boy throws himself at the beast. The creature then roars, trying to place a curse on their target. Dark energy begins to emanate from the silver combatant's hand. Using the demonic curse, he imbues his sword with sinister power. Surprised, the beast is enveloped in the purple aura of the newly cast curse. With the curse spreading, the werewolf retreats from the imminent attack. Screaming in pain, the demonic curse reduces the target stats by 10%. Satisfied, the young man thinks the skill is not bad for a first use. Growling furiously, the creature now releases intense reddish energy. Moving forward with everything, the monster tries to take the protagonist by surprise. Irritated, the corrupted werewolf nullifies all negative effects. The boy notes that it wouldn't be that simple. Giving a confident smile, he was saving a trick for later but decides to use it now. With red eyes, the boy activates a mysterious slot on his device. Enveloped in a shadowy blue aura, the protagonist prepares to unleash immense power. Energy condenses quickly, forming a glowing, unstable orb. Suddenly, the orb of energy transforms, taking the form of black armor. In full armor and wreathed in blue flames, the warrior shows himself ready for action. This is called Slot On, one of the unique features of the Warlord class. When a player activates Slot On, an intense glow often appears. Temporarily, they draw strength from the world of warlords, manifesting an improved form. This enhanced form varies greatly depending on the player, precisely because it varies a lot from person to person. Many users often call it the so-called Supreme Mode. The protagonist displays a confident smile in his new form. With the visor down and fully prepared, he dares any enemy to appear. In response, a bestial creature appears roaring fiercely. Without wasting time, the beast advances against the little warrior that remains firm. Emanating a reddish energy, the monster attacks at full speed. Suddenly, it's not just one, but several beasts attacking coordinated with energy claws. The masked man quickly dodges a powerful blow. The impact shatters the surrounding rocks. The red energy collides violently with the ground. Pieces of stone fly everywhere, showing the strength of the attack. As expected of a boss, his speed and power are too much. The masked man thinks that if he is hit 3 times, it will be the end of him. The werewolf beast roars, showing its fury, but the protagonist just gives a confident smile. With a blue aura surrounding his body, the masked man quickly advances against the enemy. The blow hits the werewolf squarely. The creature appears to feel the impact of the attack and screams. That's what makes the game fun, he thinks with a smile. Soon after, his expression changes to surprise. Suddenly, the creature attacks with more force, creating a shock wave that throws the protagonist backwards. Realizing the situation, the masked man remembers that he forgot about the monster's state of fury. The werewolf looks at him menacingly. Your skeleton partner suddenly appears, asking if the masked man also forgot something. Now together the protagonist and the skeleton face the beast. The skeletal minion prepares a blue energy attack. Shouting to your companion, the masked man asks them to use the movement they practiced, and the skeleton confirms. Seeing the coordination of the two, the werewolf seems to notice that something different is coming. Sliding across the floor in perfect synchronization, the pair move forward to surround the giant monster. Simultaneously, the two attack the werewolf, using blue energy attacks in concert against the beast. The protagonist and his warrior skeleton complete the werewolf. The system confirms that the hunt was a success. With the ability deactivated, the protagonist smiles, satisfied with the result. Suddenly, a golden light begins to rotate intensely in the place. A letter appears detailing a new mission. The objective is to defeat monsters in Bima Mountain Cave for 10 gold. Several notifications appear on the screen. The minion's skeleton fragment ability goes up to rank E. The protagonist also wins 20,865 gold. Along with this, he obtains a werewolf skull and skin. The boy is very happy with the instance rewards. Soon after, he receives the Corrupted Tracker's necklace. This item is of the single chronicle type and increases all stats by 18. However, the necklace cannot be exchanged and requires a specific title. Surprised, the protagonist recognizes the rarity of the item. Even though it is not tradable, he knows that the unique chronicle is a level above common unique items. Then an idea appears in the protagonist's mind. He wonders about the name Corrupted Tracker and what it could mean. The system then informs that 3 new titles have been registered for the boy. The first title is Promising Newcomer, increasing intelligence and magic by 3%. The second is Challenger of Heroes, which grants 3 more resistances. The boy recognizes that the title of hero came from clearing the dungeon alone. Finally, the third title is revealed as Corrupted Tracker. This leaves the protagonist quite surprised. The shock comes from him recognizing the Corrupted Tracker. This is precisely the initial title of the first chapter of the main mission called Corruption Count. This main quest is explained as being the central plot. It forms the backbone of the Warlord game universe. Because of the extraordinary rewards, all players want to get involved. It is the most prominent content in Warlord. The protagonist reflects on his past life, barely reaching the 4th chapter. Now he has already unlocked the start of the main quest so early. The boy realizes that this can't just be luck. With a huge smile, the protagonist celebrates his luck. He quickly leaves the game. In the real world, the sun sets over the horizon. A report informs that the Hydra Guild has entered the final chapter. The goal is to finish in 3 months. Sitting in front of the computer, the boy watches the news without saying anything. Crying and with a bruise on his mouth, he realizes he was unlucky. Banging his head on the table, he laments that someone is already in the final chapter. Now he will achieve nothing. What a waste. Discouraged, he thinks about giving up and focusing on the next chapter. However, an idea pops into your mind. The boy quickly wonders if this would really be an opportunity. Right now, the whole world is focused on the Count's corruption. After all, it is the first main mission, and it is about to be completed. He then thinks about what would happen if a video about the Count's corruption was released now. Opinions would be absurd, success would be guaranteed. Luckily recorded all of his gameplay. Now you just need to edit and post directly to YouTube. Editing is fundamental and cannot be done by just anyone. Therefore, he will do the work himself. After all, he was known as the god of editing in his past life. As we eat, we see a girl with pink hair named Romini. She seems intrigued by something on her cell phone. On the cell phone, we see a request for video editing from Dungeon Clear. The sender is Herkin and he is only level 15. Fiddling with her cell phone, a girl with pink hair laughs. She doubts the video of a level 15 clearing a dungeon is any good. Your bet is that it's just a rich newbie looking to show off. Suddenly, the girl jumps out of her chair. Your eyes widen in shock as you find what you were looking for. With shining eyes, the girl exclaims that she has found her muse. Her name is Romane, a freelance video editor with the nickname Hellmouth. In the night city, a woman watches through the window of her building. She is identified as an executive. An assistant hurries to ask if he has been called. The executive informs that a video has just emerged about the Count's corruption. Handing over the tablet, the executive comments that it is interesting. In it, a level 15 single-handedly defeated a corrupted werewolf. The man recognizes this video. Adjusting his glasses, the man says his team has already seen the video. He downplays it by saying that the werewolf's level was low. The executive interrupts him saying she liked it. With a confident smile, the woman declares that she wants this. She then orders them to bring the person responsible for the video to her. Her name is Che Silian. It is #1 in the world business ranking and successor to Grupo Travao. In another context, she is also known by her nickname. In the world of warlords, she is the Thunder Queen Sira. Meanwhile, the protagonist faces 2 opponents. One of them asks what decision he's talking about. The boy takes a strong blow from his enemies. A red broth begins to flow, indicating the damage received. A level 25 forest bear appeared, baring its sharp fangs in a menacing roar. Its powerful paw quickly descended upon the masked player, seeking to crush him. Brute force threw Heiho Mask to the ground, raising dust and debris upon impact. Over his fallen body, the creature prepared to finish the fight right there. Catching his breath, a surprised cry escaped the lips of the boy under the hood. Suddenly out of the game, the young man took off his VR helmet, confused by something on his cell phone. He watched his newly uploaded video, already with thousands of views and praiseful comments. 6,000 views? That fast was almost unbelievable for the streamer. He remembered that in his previous life, it would take months to reach such a mark. Something changed, another notable change. A message appeared on the screen. The sender was his friend Romani. He found it strange that Romani had initiated contact, as he normally acted more reclusive. After responding, Heiho Mask smiled confidently in the game. It was time to act. The aggro was on him. With a command, his skeleton minion nimbly jumped on the forest bear. Ghostly blue eyes glowed from the skull, focused on the monstrous enemy. In one brutal blow, however, the creature easily tore the bone warrior apart. "Do you really think such a predictable attack would work?" he asks, frustrated. "You need to go for his blind spot." Driven by the battle, he quickly jumps against the next monster. "Next!" Logically, he announces with determination. An unusual message appears. "Red roses for you." His immediate reaction is to want to block. Could he be an addict? Zrenya on Dumit. His interlocutor ignores the strangeness, continuing the conversation. "Anyway," types the unknown person. He receives the question, "When can you give me the next video?" Lying down, he also ponders this question. His mind searches for ideas for the next video. "I don't know what to do," he admits. Finding another corrupted werewolf seems impossible. Faced with uncertainty, he asks himself, "But what can I do?" His hand activates a panel, searching for a solution. A vibrant connection screen appears. "I need to seize it while the opportunity is hot," he thinks determinedly. Connection established, a blue glow envelops his visor. He smiles, ready. "Connect!" he confirms enthusiastically. On the virtual battlefield, his skeletal minion advances. He leaps with his sword raised against the immense bear. With a brutal blow, the bear repels the bony attacker. His reaction is an exasperated cry. "Hey!" he shouts the tactic again. "I told you to come from the blind spot." He questions the repetition of the previous minion's mistake. His footsteps echo with frustration. "Argh! Seriously, so frustrating!" he thinks as he walks away from the incompetent fight. However, a different skeletal figure appears, haughty. Rays of light surround him, highlighting his imposing presence. Mathador Shev looks at his cell phone, focusing on the figure in combat. His lips murmur the name, "Hirakan of the Heiho Mask, huh?" The knight in red armor smiles in admiration. He thinks how impressive the player's movements are, even after watching them several times. A strange feeling comes over Shev, finding the fighter familiar. He wonders if he's met him before, but a voice interrupts him. Who looks familiar? A red-haired woman in an elegant dress appears imposingly. Her name is Yell from the Red Bulls. Mathador greets her upon seeing her. "Oh, Yell." The blonde man clarifies, "I'm talking about Hirakan of the Heiho Mask." It's become a topic of conversation. Yell scoffs at the familiarity, and he nods awkwardly. Far away, a young man in a hood and white hair reacts with a blush. An expression of surprise takes over his face as he thinks, "Huh? That guy ... The boy jumps into the air, sword in hand, against an immense creature. A terrible suspicion assails him in the middle of the fight. "Don't tell me that!" His skeletal minion comes into focus, ready for battle. Ghostly blue eyes glow with intent in the darkness of the forest. Hirkan and the skeleton attack the giant creature together. Nearby, another player just watches the fight unfold, standing still. The protagonist puts his hands to his head, face red with rage. His teeth grind in frustration, thinking, "You damn bastards!" A scream of pure fury echoes through the forest. "Idiots!" The thunderous sound scares the birds who take flight, desperate. The scene returns to Matador Shev. His expression is now serious, thoughtful, as he mutters the word to himself, but the observer's face lights up in pure excitement. He extols the naturalness of Hirkan's movements and his unique summoning training. Shev fantasizes about a confrontation. What would it be like to fight him? Would you accept a duel? Yell, clearly irritated, tells him to stop talking. A red-haired woman pushes her colleague through the door. She orders him to stop talking nonsense, as they will be going live in 5 minutes. He reacts surprised. With a confident smile, the blonde-haired man winks, saying that he always appreciates her and asks if she knows that. With her arms crossed, the red-haired woman responds, asking only that he do a good job in today's live broadcast. More than 200,000 people bought tickets to watch live. Comments in the chat celebrate, "He's finally here." 3 skeletons look disturbed, holding their detached heads. One of the creatures expresses its discomfort with an ugh ... A character appears and asks if the skeletons have brains. Even though he thinks they don't, he asks them to put their heads back on. Giving instructions, the master of the creatures explains, "Attacked monsters always turn in the direction of the blow they receive." Illustrating on the ground, the strategist teaches about attacking from the blind spot, questioning what would happen in a direct frontal attack. With blank expressions and flowers appearing, the creatures don't understand. Internally, his master becomes even more irritated with the situation. "Hand on head," the Necromancer laments. "It's good to be able to summon 3 skeletons now, thanks to the necklace, but they can't cooperate." The man in gold and red armor emerges from the shadows, staring determinedly, beginning a sentence. "To see you." His firm steps echo in the place. A caption identifies him. He is the leader of the Red Bulls, an imposing figure. In front of the arena, his full identity is revealed. Matador Shev, 9th in the Warlord ranking, leader of the guild. Suddenly a warning informs. A dungeon portal is about to appear. The ranked player prepares himself, blue energy surrounding him. Countdown, gigantic. The purple energy portal dominates the arena. The leader of the Red Bulls stands firm, watching the countdown. 4, 3. With a determined smile on his face, Matador Shev begins his command to the guild. All members. The countdown ends. Imposing. The Tower of the Raiders Association marked the branch of Bangtsu Castle, a vital point for local adventurers. Inside the place, adventurers gathered noisily. A male figure watched from the top of the stairs, arms crossed. Suddenly, a hooded young man appeared at the top of the steps. The observer turned his gaze towards the newcomer. Cries of astonishment echoed through the crowded tavern. Everyone seemed shocked and agitated by the revealed presence. "He's out!" With his silver hair, he observed the commotion. The young man's gaze was attentive, perhaps surprised by the general reaction. A gray-haired veteran approached, recognizing him. He claimed to know who he was. The hero who had cleared the Bhima Mountain dungeon. Genuine surprise crossed the hooded young man's face. That sudden identification had caught him off guard at that moment. Introducing himself as Hotan, the bearded man smiled. He cordially asked for some of the boys' time to talk. Now, in a more private environment, away from the eyes, Hotan began. He claimed to have heard everything about the recent events. He revealed the main point. "You found a mutant in the Bhima Mountain cave," the veteran said directly. Confusion appeared on the adventurer's face. He denied remembering such a mission, but admitted, "I saw a werewolf with strange eyes." Meanwhile, the crowd outside continued to agitate. They demanded to know about some secret mission. "What mission did you take? Tell me," His gaze turned to the door, observing the greed. He thought with disdain how those people resembled hyenas. Pulling his hood up to cover his face more, he reflected. He realized that finding individuals like that was common anywhere. He regretted inwardly the lack of effort of those individuals. They preferred to try to take advantage of others easily. Dark thoughts about opportunists crossed the mind of the hooded boy. He believes that they only want to take advantage of others. Trying to form a group, a bald man approaches the young man. The young man forcefully pushes him away, brusquely telling him to get out of there. Quickly moving away, the adventurer reflects in secret. No one can find out about his mission Ahimbri, he thinks to himself. Confirming his suspicions, a gray-bearded man observes the situation. He mutters to himself, "As I thought." A tense expression appears on the protagonist's face. The old man mentions monsters affected by the Corrupt One's power. The Corrupt One echoes in his mind. Still without a defined identity, the older man explains the situation. A sinister figure with dark beasts illustrates the unknown threat. Certainly, his power drives monsters mad. The man continues. He claims that many creatures have succumbed to this nefarious influence. For this, the Marauders Association offers a reward. The master begins. The young man interrupts, firmly holding his arm. With sudden enthusiasm, the adventurer offers to help. He wants to capture the adorable, evil bastard with everything. It's a secret mission. Presenting a sealed envelope, the boy reveals his connection. He brought a letter of recommendation from Hotan. After confirmation, the guard allows passage to the second floor. Murmurs of surprise echo among those present in the tavern. A crowd tries to go up with them, claiming to be part of the group. "Let me go up!" "Zrinya," they shout. He mentally denies, "No, you're not." With a slight smile of confidence, the boy continues to climb. He leaves behind the confusion and the profiteers on the lower floor. In front of the door at the top of the stairs, he ponders the reward. Will it be something good, since it's secret? Planning a long-lasting relationship with Ahimbri, the adventurer smiles. He touches the doorknob and announces his arrival. "Excuse me." Pupils dilated, the boy's face showed shock at what he heard. Gratefully, he shook the old man's hand, assuring him that he would be fine, despite the old man's hesitation. Hotan scratched his head in amusement, proposing a chance based on performance. Mentioning Ahimbri at Bangtsu Castle, a determined glint appeared in the hooded adventurer's eyes, accepting the challenge. This man could teach him. A letter of recommendation would be written by Hotan, making it easier to meet him. A quest notification appeared. Ahimbri's Teachings. Objective: find Ahimbri and show him the letter. Reward: skill book. Teeth gritted, he trembled slightly, gathering his strong will for the journey. Outside, in front of the others, the shout, "Yes!" echoed loudly, signaling his immediate departure. Inside the destination, a chaotic sight. "Wow, what a mess," thought the young man as he saw piles of books. Amidst the chaos of paper, a voice emerged from the piles asking, "Who are you?" There was Ahimbri, a bespectacled NPC, claiming not to remember having made any appointments today. Hirkan introduced himself formally and showed the letter. "My name is Hirkan. I came with Hotan's recommendation." Noticing his appearance, Ahimbri commented on how his skills seemed advanced for a black magician apprentice. "I see. Here are the promised rewards," said the NPC, handing over the item. Hirkan could hardly believe how easy it was. One of the 7 disciples of the great wizard Bokon is the NPC Ahimbri, a figure of great renown. Many wizards yearn to meet him as he provides the rarest skill books, a very important figure. I probably got this opportunity due to the overlap of the Corrupted Count's main quest. I'll have videos. Suddenly, his feet lock on the uneven stone floor, an unexpected pause in the path. He almost forgot something crucial that he needed to resolve first. A mischievous smile appears on the boy's face. Leaves dance in the wind, marking a brief pause in the action. A moment of transition in the scenario. With a purple glow emanating from his hand, the disciple demonstrates his arcane power and prepares the delivery. You have received the book, Bone Armor. You also received the Helm of Madness. What a nice surprise. The protagonist thinks he is giving him 2 items, and they look super rare. Thank you very much. Our business is over here, interrupts the wizard. Quest Teachings of a Himbri complete. Be careful on the way, says the NPC as he leaves. What do you mean? Why did the quest end so quickly? I need the next step. Wait a minute. I didn't come all this way just for 2 skills. Sir? The player shouts to the master's back as he walks away. With a final rustle of leaves, the protagonist finds himself alone in the clearing. A Himbri has completely disappeared. A confident smile returns to the adventurer's face. His lips murmur, "Skeleton fragment." Blue energy crackles as ghostly skulls are thrown forward. Time to test the secret item. Your skeleton warrior emerges with a spectral blue aura. You need to check the rewards from the last battle before moving on. First, you decide to use the werewolf skull you didn't sell. You hold the item with a confident smile on your face, ready for the upgrade. A system window appears asking you to use the skull to strengthen your minion. You quickly confirm with yes. A blue energy surrounds the skeletal creature. It gains the traits of a werewolf, gaining +2 resistance as a bonus. Memories of a desperate moment suddenly surface. It begged, saying that it would do anything for a chance back then. Focus on the handshake, sealing some kind of dark agreement. A promise made in a moment of pure affliction. In front of piles of books, a man confirms the promise. He sarcastically asks, "Will you do anything?" The figure thanks you with a sinister and disturbing smile. The young man is frightened by the malicious expression revealed. Then the quest, Egg from the Nest, appears. A seemingly simple task. Bring the egg, but with no reward listed. A crucial detail of the quest is emphasized on the screen. Reward, none. Something seems very wrong with that condition. He comes to his senses, realizing the trap of the past. He screams internally in shock and panic. He got me! Returning to the present, he takes the necklace of the corrupted tracker. He decides to equip it immediately to gain more power. An intense light emanates from the item equipped on his neck. Its effects are applied, +18 to all stats and class bonuses. Satisfied with the newly acquired bonuses, he declares, "Great! All the preparation work is done." His minion looks confused. His gaze becomes sharp as he holds a skeleton fragment. New plans are already forming in his cunning mind. Blue flaming skulls fly fast. Our skeletal hero jumps, surprised by the sudden and unexpected attack coming from the woods. Imminent impact causes the energy projectiles to explode. An intense blue light momentarily fills the place with destructive force. Now, in full armor, he walks through the crowded street. Murmurs follow his firm steps among the curious crowd gathered. His imposing presence does not go unnoticed. "Isn't that armor like super expensive?" Logically, someone asks in awe from a distance. His steps take him forward, towards a distinct building. A tall tower marks his imminent destination on the green horizon. Staring at the structure ahead, he confirms his suspicions. That's the place. Swing, his voice echoes inside the closed helmet. Determination shines in his green eyes behind the metal visor. Where the Ha-Ho mask is kept, he concludes the thought. Far away, 3 skeletons react in surprise. A subtle blue energy still pulses around them in the dense forest. They turn around, clearly confused by the unexpected situation. The smallest of them tilts his head, not understanding anything that is happening. He gives direct orders. "From now on, you 3 will fight as a unit. Get along well." Promptly, the smallest skeleton protests vehemently, even taking off his head. A level 25 forest bear appears. It roars ferociously with its mouth wide open. Furiously, the beast attacks with its gigantic paw. In front of it, the hooded protagonist prepares himself. He dodges the blow of the creature that attacks him. The monster's paw comes down again with full force. The boy observes the imminent danger coming from above. Surprised, the boy lets out a scream. The bear's blow seems to have been faster than expected. Then a smile appears on the hooded boy's face. He reveals that he managed to attract the bear's attention and that now is the time. Out of nowhere, a skeleton warrior jumps over the forest bear. His sword is ready for a sure strike. With glowing blue eyes, the skull of the skeletal warrior stares at its target. Determination is clear in its blank gaze, but the bear counterattacks the protagonist's ambush. Unfortunately, the monster reacts quickly and hits the skeleton squarely. The bone fighter is shattered into pieces. Disappointed, the protagonist regrets the predictable attack. He instructs that it was necessary to attack from the beast's blind spot. Quickly, another skeletal soldier is sent into battle. This one flies towards the bear, ready for the next round. Once again, the bone minion jumps on the big bear. The hooded young man watches the attempt from below. However, the second skeleton is also no match. It ends up crushed by the powerful paw of the forest monster. Irritated, the white-haired boy screams at the top of his lungs. The situation clearly frustrated him. The young man complains that he had told him to attack from the blind spot. He wonders why the minion repeated the previous mistake. The protagonist complains. The skeleton stands up. Suddenly, the much more stylish skeleton strikes a few poses while standing. With his face flushed, the hooded boy is completely surprised. He did not expect that kind of summoning. Immediately, the new, renewed skeletal warrior jumps with agility. His light dazzles as he advances against the bear. The bone soldier's skull shows pure confidence. The protagonist wonders if that is really possible. However, the second skeleton was no match for the beast either. It ends up being crushed by the powerful paw of the forest monster. Quite irritated, the boy grabs his strings tightly. The situation clearly left him quite frustrated with his minions. With all his might, the young man yells at his skeletons. He really can't stand their incompetence anymore. The skeletons seem a little down after the scolding. They really didn't expect that reaction. Then the protagonist asks if they even have brains. He soon adds that he already knows the answer. Continuing his speech, the boy explains that when monsters are attacked, they obviously turn to face the direction from which the attack came. For this reason, the young man draws on the ground, showing that the right thing to do is to attack from the blind spot. He questions what would happen if they attacked head-on. Seeing his minion's reaction, the boy gives up explaining. That was only irritating him even more. Despite everything, he thinks it's great that his skill has increased in rank. Now he can summon 3 skeletons thanks to the necklace. The problem, however, is that they can't work together. The hooded boy insists that they should attack from the blind spot. They even share what they learned with one of them. But when it's time to attack, they all advance in a straight line without strategy. The protagonist asks them to work together and attack. But since they haven't learned to fight as a team, they don't know how to do it. This drives him crazy because they cost 3 times as much mana, and on top of that, they're worse than before. Sighing, the young man just says to let it go. At least he reached level 20 like he wanted. Ordering his lackeys to get up, the boy says that they're going to train. The goal is to keep going until they reach Bangsu Castle. The 3 skeletons then begin to march in formation. The protagonist regrets it because he thought he could just relax. With a wry smile, he realizes that he can't help himself. It seems that he will have to stay on the front lines for now. So, the group of skeletons and their master continue their journey through the forest. The journey through the forest continues under a strong sun. Finally, they reach their destination. The Raiders Association, Bangsu Castle Branch, looms large. Inside the association, the place is bustling. Several adventurers and employees occupy the main hall. From the shadows, a young man in a cloak appears, descending the stairs while a guard watches him with his arms crossed. Suddenly, the crowd panics and shouts that he has left. Red splashes indicate a previous confusion. Agitated, everyone starts shouting to catch him. They want to know what mission the boy managed to achieve. Ignoring the confusion, the hooded man moves away. He thinks that those people are like hyenas. Adjusting his hood, the white-haired young man reflects. He thinks that people like that exist everywhere. Observing the crowd, the protagonist laments. They don't even try to make an effort on their own. With a serious look, the boy concludes his thought. These people just want to take advantage of others. Unexpectedly, a bald man approaches him from behind, wanting information. The protagonist tells him to get lost. In a hurry, the young man runs down the stairs. He cannot let anyone find out about his secret mission. In front of another guard, the young man presents a sealed letter. He says it is a recommendation from Hotan. After confirming, the guard allows him to pass. The protagonist can go up to the second floor. Desperate, the crowd tries to follow him, claiming to be part of the group. The hooded man mentally denies it. With a subtle smile, the white-haired young man continues climbing. He leaves the opportunists behind. Reaching the top, he faces a closed door. The young man wonders what the reward for the secret mission will be. Excited about the possibility of a good relationship, the protagonist approaches the door. He knocks politely. Upon opening the door, the young man's mouth drops open. The surprise is evident on his face. Inside the room, an unbelievable mess of books and papers reveals itself. The protagonist finds everything very chaotic. From behind a pile of books, a mysterious voice asks who he is. The boy turns towards the sound. Sitting at a table, a tired-looking man stares at him. He doesn't remember having arranged a meeting. Surprised by the NPC's appearance, the protagonist introduces himself as Hirkan. He mentions Hotan's letter again. The bespectacled man comments on the protagonist's apprentice appearance. Despite this, he praises his skill. Our hero, a little blushing, claims that it was just luck. He only wants the reward. The man then announces that he will deliver the promised rewards. A light emanates from his hand. Our protagonist receives 2 skill books. One is the bone armor, and the other, the helmet of madness. He seems quite excited about the items. Surprised, the boy realizes that he has received 2 skills. They seem to be super rare. When he goes to thank him, the bespectacled man states that their business is over there. A system notification appears. The teachings of a Himbri quest has been completed. The man turns to leave. He wishes the boy good luck on his way back. The boy is shocked by the sudden end of the mission. He did not expect this and asks for the next task. He complains that he did not go through all that just for some skills. Desperate, the boy calls out to the man. Desperately, the protagonist reaches out his hand. He begs, saying that he will do anything for another mission. Unexpectedly, the older man takes the boy's hand. It seems that his plea worked. The man then asks if the young man would really do anything. The boy looks at him hopefully. With a somewhat suspicious smile, the man seems to agree. The protagonist thanks him, but notices the other's strange expression. A new mission appears. It is called Egg from the Nest. The objective is simple: bring the egg from the nest. However, to the boy's surprise, the reward for this task is absolutely nothing. The protagonist is left speechless. He realizes that he has just been tricked by the older man. Someone, wearing stylish armor, walks through the city, drawing everyone's attention. People around him notice his equipment. They comment that the armor seems to be extremely expensive. The person in the armor continues on his way. He approaches a large building. With his eyes shining from under his helmet, the knight mutters, "That is the place he was looking for." He then completes his thought. That is where the Haho mask is hidden. Ahead, a door is ajar. A mysterious light escapes through the crack, indicating the way. The protagonist walks through a huge wooden door. An air of mystery fills the place. With a discouraged face, the young man realizes that he has been tricked by an NPC. A single tear runs down his cheek. He was expecting an important mission, but he receives an egg-shaped one without any reward, leaving him irritated. Frustrated, the white-haired boy questions whether he really needs to do this. Someone nearby asks what he intends. Unexpectedly, a player approaches the fallen protagonist. Curious, he asks about the mission he received. Quickly, a crowd surrounds the hooded young man. Everyone shouts that he has received a mission and tries to grab him. Completely surrounded, the boy realizes that he has forgotten about the other players. He does not know what to do in the situation. His eyes shine with anger, considering finishing them off. However, an imposing voice orders everyone to move away. Suddenly, a figure in heavy armor appears and kicks the opportunists. They are thrown away with force. On the ground, the protagonist watches the knight approach. He asks if the boy has a moment to talk. The warrior in full armor wants to speak in a more private place. He needs a quiet place to talk. Suspicious, the hooded young man analyzes the stranger. He wonders who the hell this mysterious individual could be. Irritated, the protagonist orders the knight to move away. Politely, the warrior asks for his cooperation. To the boy's surprise, the knight recognizes him. He calls him Mr. Hey-Ho Mask, revealing that he knows his identity. Without much choice, the protagonist is led by the armored man. They cross a cobblestone street in the city. When they stop in an alley, the knight formally apologizes. He is sorry for having bothered the young man. Then the warrior touches a device on his wrist. He explains that he felt they could not talk properly before. With a blue glow, the knight's helmet retracts. A man with glasses appears, leaving the protagonist confused. From the equipment, the young man deduces that he is a high-level player. However, he cannot remember him from anywhere. The boy wonders who this guy is and how he knows him. The man with glasses then confirms, "You are the Ha-Ho Mask, aren't you?" In these moments of tension, the boy thinks quickly. The protagonist then pretends not to know what the other is talking about. He apologizes and asks which Ha-Ho Mask he is referring to. Confused, the armored man remembers a mission. He comments that the protagonist received a task from an NPC named Ahimbri. The hooded young man angrily questions who the other man is. He asks why he should share information with a stranger. The white-haired young man asks if the man is looking for a fight. He tells the other to put his account on the line and try to confront him. Despite his anger, the protagonist knows that he doesn't know the guy, so all he has to do is keep pretending to be ignorant. The man with glasses looks at him seriously. He ponders what the boy's next move will be. His metal hand slowly closes. He seems to be coming to a conclusion. Quickly, the guy extends his hand and apologizes. He admits that he seems to have made a mistake. A small smile appears on the hooded boy's face. He seems to be enjoying himself with the situation. The two shake hands. The protagonist then asks if the man is scared. The white-haired boy says he will let it go just this once. Irritated, the man in armor calls him a pathetic idiot. The man in glasses watches the boy walk away. He is thoughtful about the encounter. Out of nowhere, a shadowy figure appears behind him. The man comments that he does not think he is who they are looking for, as he is not a skilled player. The shadowy figure comments that if he had played Warlord for some time, he would know better. The man then realizes something. He understands that he should not have carelessly extended his arm with the war watch. The hooded person asks if they really need to keep watching Ahimbri. He says that the corrupt count's mission is almost over and no one would find out. The man in armor adjusts his glasses and explains. He states that the egg of the nest mission is the main one, and they should not take unnecessary risks. Grumbling, the shadowy figure says that he will return to his position. She says goodbye and walks away. Suddenly, a window opens with a bright light. Something seems to be happening inside that place. Through the window, the protagonist watches carefully. He wonders if there are two of them. Observing the pair, the boy concludes that they are part of an organization. Common guilds would have come forward to negotiate. The knight seems confident. The protagonist realizes that they are not common adventurers, as they tested him. With his gaze focused, the hooded young man wonders, who the hell would those individuals be? In the middle of the forest, the sound echoes surrounded by his skeletons. The protagonist reflects. One thing is certain to him, the white-haired young man ponders. There is something more to the nest egg mission he received. They probably saw his video. They knew that Ha-Ho Mask would receive the mission from Ahimbri. Since they let him go easily, they don't care who the Ha-Ho Mask is. The boy doesn't know what is happening with the mission. If it continues like this, he will certainly meet them again, and he won't even be able to post videos to avoid them. Sighing, the hooded young man laments. Why do crazy people keep ruining his life? Chae Seolyeon alone would be a huge problem for him to deal with. She alone already overwhelms him. The secretary, Park Suji, praises her boss's good work. Park Suji asks her superior, who is in a capsule, "How was the guild entrance exam?" "Grabbing a bottle," Chae Seolyeon responds harshly. Everyone was trash. The black-haired woman drinks, questioning how none of them could be useful. The secretary reacts with fear, finding the situation scary. The secretary then changes the subject. She asks if there is any news about the Heiho mask. The boy who posted the video, Chae Seolyan, crushes the container hard. She assumes he joined another guild since he hasn't responded yet. The idea of another guild infuriates Chae Seolyan. Her secretary cowers in fear at her reaction. 0. The secretary stammers that of course not, and that she will check again. Chae Seolyan tells her to come back only when she is sure 0 undressing. The woman wonders what the president would have said. Nervous, the secretary answers that he hasn't said anything yet. With a smile, the madam comments that he doesn't say anything because the warlord is doing very well. Then, a close-up of the girl's heels is shown. The brunette remembers that he tried to force a marriage. This happened when she mentioned the game for the first time. Surprised by the boss's figure, the secretary listens attentively. She must bring a new group of candidates by the next morning and report the employee is shocked by the tight deadline. Tomorrow morning seems too early for her. Quickly, the secretary leaves the room in a hurry. Her boss, in turn, thinks about the girl's difficult personality, seeing her reflection in the water. The protagonist comments, "This is his first visit to that place in a while." The hooded boy and his skeletons reach their destination. It is the lizard swamp 0. The young hunter remembers that a Himbri is in Bangsu Castle. Therefore, the mission must be in that region. Since the mission involved finding an egg, he deduces, the monster would be a bird, reptile, or some type of insect. Considering the places he could go with his current level, the lizard swamp was the only viable option for his journey. The protagonist calls a skeleton and opens the skill window. The monsters there are high level, so he decides to use the enhancement skill he learned. The skill is called Helmet of Madness, with mastery level F. To use it, you need to draw an engraving on the target's head and cast a spell to activate Concentrated. The white-haired boy prepares to activate the helmet on his minion. Immediately, the skeleton's eyes glow an intense red. A mark appears on his forehead as the power is successfully activated. A powerful red aura surrounds the now stronger skeleton. The protagonist observes everything, a little surprised by the intensity of the skill. Excited, the young man finds it incredible and very stylish. He even notices that the skeleton now has horns on its head. To test the new power, the protagonist gives a direct order. The strengthened skeleton must attack him immediately for a practical test. The skill explains that a rune must be drawn on the target's head and a spell cast to activate it. As a special note, there is a chance that the summon will lose its sanity. Growling, the skeleton stares at its master. Calmly, the protagonist says that they need to test it and orders the skeleton to attack him. With its eyes glowing red, the skeleton furiously advances towards the boy. Surprised by the reaction, the hooded boy did not expect this attitude from his minion. With a quick movement, the protagonist strikes the skeleton. The minion's head flies into the air with the impact. The stylish skeleton's head rolls across the ground. The other skeletons watch the scene, confused by the situation. Trembling, the headless skeleton's body seems to react. The protagonist questions if the minion dared to yell at him. Confused, the white-haired young man wonders if this is some kind of error in the system. He then realizes that nothing seems to have changed in the minion. The boy begins to think that he was tricked by the skill. Suddenly, some level 30 lizard men appear in front of the protagonist, surprising him. Despite the initial surprise, a smile appears on his face. He comments that the test subjects arrived at the right time. The skeleton then decides to put on his Helmet of Madness. The item increases the summoning stats by 1 point twice. Then, a bone armor is also equipped on the skeleton. Currently, the available armor is a chest plate. Now fully equipped, the stylish skeleton prepares for combat alongside his companions. The lizard men are confused by the sudden appearance of the skeletons in front of him. The protagonist then gives the order for his minions to attack. The skeletons advance with all their might towards the monsters. An intense battle begins between the skeletal soldiers and the lizard men present there. The stylish skeleton demonstrates his superiority, about to finish off one of the lizards in front of him. With a precise blow, The bone minion hits the monster squarely, showing his strength, 0. A notification appears informing that the skeletal warriors have defeated 3 lizard men. The protagonist has gained 864 experience points and has leveled up 2. Sporting a huge smile, the hooded boy shows his happiness. He exclaims that this is great, very happy with the success of his new summoning. The protagonist then sets the plan for the following week. The group will hunt monsters in search of the egg, and if it is not in the right region, they will look elsewhere. In the distance, a dark-haired girl watches the protagonist and his skeletons leave. She seems thoughtful about what she saw. A slight smile forms on the mysterious woman's face. She seems to be plotting something in her mind. Surrounded by petals and sparkles, the beautiful girl finally introduces herself. She says her name is Ilya, exuding confidence. With a penetrating gaze, Ilya claims to be a first-class beauty. She considers herself, without a doubt, very attractive. Ilya explains that, although she does not like to brag, it is the truth. Everyone likes her no matter what she does, as the scene of her being pampered shows. For this reason, Ilya's life has always been very easy. If she pretended to be in trouble, her devoted servants would quickly help her. Suddenly, while walking with her usual poise, the girl's foot slips. It seems that she has stepped wrong. With the stumble, Ilya plunges face first into a disgusting green slime. Her elegance disappears in an instant. Now, Ilya lies in the pool of slime, completely dirty. She remains silent, perhaps in disbelief at what has happened. Covered in the disgusting slime, Ilya expresses her anger. She hates that place and does not hide her frustration. A memory comes to Ilya. One of her servants took her there to help her level up. At the time, she thought it would be fun. However, the servant ended up failing almost immediately. As a result, Ilya is trapped there alone. Realizing the high level of the monsters, Ilya becomes worried. She then looks for someone to deceive, while the protagonist fights nearby. The protagonist's face makes her think. With a shrewd look, the young woman looks at the boy. She thinks she has found a new target to manipulate. Suddenly, a high-pitched scream catches the protagonist's attention. He quickly turns to see what it is. The girl appears on the scene, pretending to be in trouble and falling dramatically. She urgently asks the boy for help. With pleading eyes and surrounded by an aura of a damsel in distress, Ilya says that she hurt her legs. She blames the monsters for her supposed injury. Suddenly, a boy hears a voice asking for help. The girl says that she hurt her legs because of the monsters. She asks if it doesn't hurt to see. Such a beautiful lady in danger. Skeletons and the protagonist resist the request for help. Ilya lets out a scream after realizing that he is leaving. The girl is outraged that she is hurt, and the Necromancer is ignoring her. She wonders how dare he do this to her. Ilya shows her fury at being ignored by the boy. Monsters and skeletons fight, while the Necromancer watches. The boy gets bored with the situation. The young man finds the girl's complaints annoying. Outraged, the protagonist reveals that he was ignoring her because he didn't want to waste time. Irritated, he realizes that she continues to follow him. The Necromancer thinks about how people play the game badly. The protagonist says that it would be faster if he resolved this right away. The girl asks for help to recover the sword that fell into the swamp. Grateful, she says that she will never forget his help. Ilya reveals her true face and thinks she has caught him. The girl's sword appears floating in the swamp. 0. Necromancer tells his skeletons to get the sword. Boy thinks she should keep her promise to disappear. Skeletons go get the girl's sword. Girl thanks him, and protagonist talks about necromancers. Girl thinks necromancers are nothing without their invocations. Young man gets angry at being ignored. Determined, girl thinks about killing him. With a sadistic smile, Necromancer says she is too slow. Ilya is startled to see the protagonist so close. Action unfolds with Necromancer attacking Ilya. 0. Water gushes from the swamp after the protagonist's blow. Furious, Iria curses the protagonist. Girl says her bodyguards can finish him off. With a smile on her face, Necromancer says they are after her. Frightened, girl wonders what is behind her. A three-headed Hydra appears behind the girl. Terrified, she says that if she's going to trick him, she should do a better job. The Necromancer reveals that he knew he was being tricked from the beginning. Tired, he thinks he's been tricked too much. Irritated, the Necromancer thinks he's wasting his time. Skeletons have fun using their charm. The Necromancer tells the skeletons to stop learning strange things or he'll kill them. A notification appears that the player Ilia has died. The young man asks what that is and is surprised to have earned points. He remembers her saying that he won't escape after doing this. The Necromancer mocks her supposed bodyguards. Some extras watch the protagonist and his skeletons through a window. Stagnant water in the swamp. Now someone is releasing red broth and feeling pain. A kneeling man says he tried to kill Ilia's enemy. The Necromancer asks why the man is trying so hard for her. The hooded man questions the reason for so much obsession with the girl while being watched by skeletons. With his face covered in blood, the fallen man shows an insane expression. The protagonist shows surprise, showing surprise while the boy smiles madly. Amidst a red aura, the warrior shouts that he loves the girl. A blue light cuts through the air, and the protagonist reacts by attacking him. Unable to believe it, the hooded man is perplexed by the declaration of love. Remembering the crazy face of that woman, he is perplexed. He claims that she tried to deceive him. He reveals that he got rid of her, showing coldness in his actions. The protagonist managed to react in time. He remembers the girl saying that her bodyguards will protect her. Apparently surrounded by people, she laments, saying that she is very sad. It seems that something bad has happened, and she is suffering because of it. Tears stream down the girl's face as she begs for help. She complains that the Necromancer suddenly attacked her. The situation seems desperate, with the woman in great suffering. We see three individuals in panic, with wide eyes and faces of terror. The atmosphere is one of pure despair and fear. Something terrible must have happened to leave them so distraught. In the middle of a dark forest, a burly man wields a sword, facing someone. He declares that he has found Ilia's enemy. The tension is palpable, foreshadowing an imminent confrontation. The protagonist complains that he is meeting madmen every day, in addition to having enemies after him. He seems exhausted and frustrated with the situation he finds himself in. The protagonist considers whether he should find the woman and kill her again, but gives up on the idea, coming to the conclusion that this could bring even greater problems for him. A system notifies him that he has received an ownerless war watch. He has also obtained 5,011 gold, goblin leather boots, and the Necklace of Promise. Rare. The protagonist realizes that the Necklace of Promise is a super rare item that can be sold for 801. The discovery leaves him surprised and intrigued. A man with glasses and a wide smile invites him to worship a goddess. He seems quite excited and fervent in his devotion. The scene suggests a cult or religious worship. The protagonist celebrates the victory with his skeletons. He thanks his companions for their help. The scene is bizarre and funny, showing the peculiar dynamics of the group. We see a man with glasses claiming to have found Ilia's enemy. He seems quite determined. Meanwhile, the protagonist celebrates that he will finally have a good dinner. Now, the protagonist introduces himself as the trash that killed Ilia. He seems defiant. The character says that everyone is welcome. Surrounded by skeletons, the protagonist finds himself facing a hostile group. The situation seems tense. He prepares for combat. Amidst so many enemies, the protagonist despairs. He notices that there are many. The situation seems increasingly difficult. The situation becomes even more complicated when his enemies advance. They scream to kill him. He wonders how many of them there are. A woman observes the scene and becomes irritated by the group's obsession with her. It is clear that something is wrong. She does not believe it. Seeing the crowd approaching, the protagonist prepares to fight. He seems determined. The character is ready for anything. Apparently frustrated with the situation, the protagonist says, "Damn it!" He seems irritated. The situation is very complicated. In a moment of desperation, the protagonist decides to summon his skeletons. He needs help. He hopes they will help him. The skeletons answer the protagonist's call, ready to fight by his side. They are prepared. The battle is about to begin. The hairy boy says he will leave the skeletons with him. The chubby boy confidently comments on his ability. Amidst hearts and sparkles, the boy tries to use his ability. The protagonist's skeletons have been destroyed. He is irritated that they are of a higher level. He cannot believe it. The protagonist thinks about leveling up to defeat the enemies. He seems confident. He prepares for the attack. The protagonist thinks they are persistent after running away. The protagonist realizes that he is low level and needs to move. He needs to escape. He decides to run away. The protagonist seems confused. He does not understand what is happening. The protagonist wonders where he is. He seems lost. The place seems to be different. The protagonist does not remember being in a lizard swamp. He is confused. He does not understand anything. Protagonist looks thoughtful. He seems to have an idea to get out of the situation. With a smile on his face, gray-haired boy says that's it. He seems confident. Meanwhile, the group of invaders searches for the Necromancer. They want revenge. One of the invaders spots one of the protagonist's skeletons. He is furious with the audacity. The protagonist's skeletons are dancing as if they were in a disco. Group of invaders is shocked by the scene. They can't believe what they see. One of the invaders is furious with the Necromancer's audacity. He won't forgive him. Group of invaders advances towards the skeleton. They seem determined to fight. A giant monster emerges from the ground. It seems to be very powerful and scary. One of the boys is scared when he sees the monster. He doesn't know what's happening. A powerful blow hits the boy. We see that he is being attacked. A group of invaders seems surprised. One of them says it is a lizard dragon. Invaders come across a lizard dragon. Monster is level 40. One of the invaders asks them not to let him escape. He seems worried. A gray-haired boy smiles. Something bad is going to happen. The lizard dragon is a boss monster. It has powerful defense and attack. We see a group of 20 players. They are trying to defeat the dragon. Blood runs across the floor. Group has difficulty hunting the dragon. One of the boys says that the lizard dragon has already been defeated. Something is wrong. System warns that the monster will respawn. Boy seems confident about the situation. In other words, since the lizard dragon is there, Ahimbris's mission will begin in that place. Suddenly, Ahimbri remembers that he was sent there. He wonders if he should defeat and get the egg as a level 20. Calling him a scammer, the individual questions how he could do such a ridiculous thing. Fortunately, the boy managed to gather some good teammates. This should be okay, according to him. One of the boys says that the lizard dragon is too much for them. He proposes that they retreat immediately. However, he cannot do that. Soon after, the gray-haired young man smiles once more. A red aura appears in front of the group. Something very bad is about to happen to them. Skeletons block the group's path. They seem to be quite irritated by this situation. One of the boys says that everything is fine, they just need to force their way through. He seems confident. The lizard dragon appears behind them. The boy cannot believe that this really happened. One of the group members shouts that the Necromancer is running away. Apparently, the boy does not intend to fight. Thanking his companions, the individual says that he will never forget the sacrifices they made for him. Smiling again, the protagonist says that now is the time. He will finally get what he wants. Going to the nest, he thinks about quickly stealing an empty nest. The boy is quite confident. Jumping into the nest, the mysterious boy uses his sword to cut the wood in the way. 126. With a smile on his face, he says he's in and thanks for the egg. He seems quite happy about it. Suddenly, the gray-haired hero wonders what's going on. He doesn't understand the situation. Looking around, he realizes that the egg isn't there. Now he doesn't understand anything anymore. Terrified, the trio starts searching everywhere. They can't believe this happened. Finally, the lizard dragon's egg appears in someone's hands. It seems that someone was smarter. Analyzing what he has in his hands, the gray-haired boy says he found something suspicious. Wondering if it was closer to a rock than an egg, he notices that it's nothing like it. Soon after, the information comes that the skeleton warrior has been defeated. Could that have been a tutorial? Running, the mysterious boy says that the lizard dragon must be coming back because of the intruder. It's time to go. Looking ahead furiously, the creature approaches the young man. Now the situation has gotten complicated. Relieved, the hero comments that that was a close call. The lizard dragon almost caught him off guard there. Realizing that the dragon has returned, he finds himself unable to look for the egg there. Now he is in trouble. With no way out, he finds himself forced to pick it up. Even though it is not a real egg, what is he going to do? Meanwhile, the man with glasses seems to be thinking about something. Does he have some connection? Finally, the mission to pick up an egg from the nest appears, but the reward is none. What kind of quest is this? We see several bodies lying in the swamp amidst plants and dirty water. Coughing a lot, the man with glasses is on the ground. It seems that he is not at all happy with the situation. Calmly, a gray-haired boy appears in the middle of the forest, showing himself to be very different. The warrior observes the enemy lying on the ground. He says that the game is interesting because it gives a lot of freedom. The man on the ground calls him a bastard. The blade in front of the boy, he realizes that the game is not a joke. Saying that he was just playing, the gray-haired boy reveals that there is a lot at stake there. Threatening, the swordsman tells the man and the woman that next time it will not be so easy. The protagonist shows that he is much stronger. Now the situation has become tense. The protagonist soon leaves, over the bodies of the extras that hover over the swamp. The man with glasses is in shock as a sword comes down toward him. The blade stops right in front of his face, and the protagonist says he will make it clear. On the ground, the opponent hears that the protagonist was just playing around and now has a lot at stake. With a serious look, he says that next time it won't be easy, and he's warning him and that woman. Without mercy, the protagonist steps on the enemy's head on the ground. Quickly, he charges at two other henchmen who scream in pain. As he walks away, he thinks that if they provoke him again even after the warning, it will be total war. With a determined look, the boy decides that now it's time for one thing. In the swamp, he calls the Bangtsu Guild, wanting to sell the location of a dragon lizard for 100,000 gold. Next, a hand places what appears to be a stone egg on a table. Hooded, the boy meets a man and says he brought the thing he asked for. Anxiously, he hopes it's the correct item this time. While the man analyzes the stone egg, the protagonist thinks he doesn't want to search the map again. Nervous, the boy waits for an answer with a drop of sweat running down. Then the man, with a sharp look, affirms that it's exactly that. Wide-eyed, the young man shows his great surprise at the confirmation. The satisfied client says it was the item he was looking for and congratulates him on the good work. Happy, the protagonist celebrates mentally, and the other comments that he was fast. The man with glasses thought someone like him would take longer, and the young man gets irritated with NPC 0. Despite being irritated, he replies that he did his best and already asks for the next mission. With a surprised expression, the protagonist is asked if he has any idea what this is. The man explains that whenever they researched areas with mutant monsters, this thing was found. Then he reveals that he temporarily named the artifact the Stone of Corruption. We see the client in armor next to a mysterious woman as he thinks that must be it. Shocked, the boy covers his mouth and realizes that this was the reason those guys were chasing him. An image shows the Stone of Corruption, which is an important item linked to the main quest. The client says they wanted someone else to get the item to impact the mission, and the young man thought it was a scam. The original mission was nest egg with no reward, and the boy never expected it to be the main quest. Frightened, the protagonist hears the man with glasses apologize 0. He knew the mission was too much, but they are facing a powerful being and needed to test the boy's willpower. With a serious look, the man asks if he's ready to fight against the corruption. Obviously, the protagonist replies that he has willpower and being part of the main quest is great. Excitedly, the young man shouts that he will devote body and soul, but the man says not now. Confused, the protagonist apologizes, and the client says he saw the strength of the monsters and won't give the quest to a rookie. Desperate, the boy wonders if he's too low level to continue, but there's a condition. With a strange look, the man says that if the boy begs to be his disciple, he might help train him. Then the hooded protagonist stands still before a large wooden door. Soon he receives notifications that he completed the mission and gained the title of Disciple of Ahimbri, and a new quest appears. Blushing, the boy thinks this guy is a complete scammer, while Ahimbri asks him to speak louder. Suddenly, the scene changes to the head of a huge dragon spewing fire everywhere. A great flaming dragon falls to the ground while someone yells to cease the battle. Several adventurers celebrate the good job and the end of the fight, while one asks for the wounded to come closer. A man in armor greets the captain, who says that the guild did something great and asks for everyone to be gathered. With a smile, the captain thanks the assistant, saying that he was stronger than expected. The man in armor and glasses named Assistant calmly wipes his hands. He replies without trouble and says it was all thanks to their good support. The captain insists that without him at least 5 would have died, and that he was happy to have called him. Cheerfully, the guild leader offers a bag of money, saying it's not much but wanted him to accept it. The assistant notices that it's not the promised compensation, and the captain confirms that it's something separate. With a serious look, the man with glasses refuses because he doesn't like breaking the rules. The assistant thinks he was nervous that Heiho Mask was already on the quest, but the lizard dragon is alive, so he failed. Surprised, the captain apologizes and wonders what happened, since he thought the assistant was in it for the money. Besides, it seems strange for a ranker to be in a low-level raid. And now the assistant says he'll collect the items from the nest. The captain is shocked deep down, because there shouldn't be anything valuable to collect from the monster's nest. Satisfied, the man with glasses thinks he's lucky and never thought he'd have the chance to get the corruption stone. He remembers that when he heard the lizard dragon had resurrected, our hooded protagonist was already getting ready. Then the assistant approaches the large nest made of branches and wood in the middle of the forest. With a gleam in his glasses and a smile, he seems to be plotting something very clever. Quickly, he runs toward the nest and thinks that defeating a boss isn't something done only with controls. Now he just needs to get the corruption stone and stop Heiho Mask from completing his mission. A great natural wooden arch appears on the horizon while the sky is partly cloudy. In a dark room, a young man is sitting cross-legged, staring intently at a glowing cell phone. With a focused look, he finally says, "It's time to act." Desperate, the boy puts his hands on his head, remembering all the days he spent suffering. Before, he tried to save as much as possible on food, but now, with the main mission, everything should be fine. He also got some extra cash and thinks it's a fair reward for his effort. Super excited with the cell phone in hand, he thinks it's time to convert the game money into real money. Alone, he remembers that he used to tell himself that if he held on a little longer, things would get better. Suddenly, a clenched fist is shown strongly, and he declares that it ends now. With a determined and bright look, the young man exclaims that he's going to do it and order meat. With a balance of 1,400,856 won, he likes it and wants to eat meat. However, the balance plummets after paying 1 million in debts, 100,000 in bills, and 300,000 in rent. Leaving only 856 won, he screams that now he can't buy any food at all. Lying on the floor, he wonders why he worked so hard for nothing. Feeling completely broken, suddenly his phone rings with Romani asking if he's alive or if he's completely given up on WTube. Surprised, he had forgotten to tell Romani and thinks he won't make videos because some lunatics are chasing him. Gripping the phone tightly, he seems tense with the current situation and the pursuers. He wonders if he really needs to worry about those guys while he's nearly starving, being just a gamer. Then he explodes and says he doesn't care about anything anymore and will do it his own way. Then the scene cuts to a dark and gloomy cemetery with tombstones and twisted trees. Two crows with red eyes watch from a branch under the sinister night and caw loudly. The masked and hooded protagonist appears with his three skeletons with glowing blue eyes in the forest. A notification informs that he has entered the field forest of the dead, and a smile appears on his face. With two skeletons behind him, he comments that the place is scary no matter how many times he comes here. This is probably the best place for him to gain experience, and its sinister atmosphere draws attention to his videos. Turning to the skeletons, he warns that they are going hunting now. But first, they need something. A new companion joins them, a skeleton mage, and magic will be part of the strategy, so they should get along well. This skeleton mage is an ability that scammer Ahimbri gave him, and it uses advanced spells as his mastery increases. Suddenly, a giant skeletal hand with glowing red fingers bursts from the ground, scaring the group. He thinks it's a great ability, but consumes too much mana, which he no longer has. So he focuses on today's hunt. On the ground, we see fallen skeletons, while others with a red glow slowly rise from the earth. A level 33 skeleton appears with a red aura and seems to be roaring or forming itself. The protagonist's skeletons are confused, and he realizes that the target has arrived there. Wearing his hood and mask, he looks back and asks what his skeletons are doing standing still. Then he orders them to hunt the enemy, and the skeletons prepare for combat. While the red glowing skeletons roar, the protagonist explains that undead monsters have a different characteristic. His skeletons hide behind trees and tombstones. And he again asks what they're doing. Irritated, he pulls his hood and tells them to stop wasting time because there's much to do. He tells them to hurry up and go fight, and then the skeletons finally move forward. One of his minions attacks an enemy skeleton with a strike of bright blue energy. A skeleton with part of its skull missing stares at one of the protagonist's minions in the darkness. Suddenly, the enemy gains a red aura and charges forward, and the young man's skeletal servant shows surprise. Behind his creation, the young man explains that normal attacks don't work, and that's why he has a plan. Then appears the mage's hammer, a rare weapon that grants 35 more strength to the user. In the cemetery, the day's objective is to hunt 100 skeletons in just 100 minutes, and the group takes their positions. With a smile, the masked one spins his hammer with blue energy and shatters one of the undead opponents. The weapon delivers a powerful blow, hitting straight into the skull of a skeleton with glowing red eyes. Watching the enemy turn to dust, the young man with his hammer on his shoulder comments that was a home run. Pointing at the lackeys, he asks if they saw it and says they need to smash the enemy's heads. Then his three skeletons place their hands on their own heads, and the young man asks what they are doing. With a smile, the protagonist warns that if they can't do it, then, with a terrifying look and an evil smile, he says he will abandon all of them right there. Suddenly, a huge skeletal foot with armor and red energy stomps hard on the ground. A giant level 35 skeleton warrior with red eyes appears, ready for battle. Surprised, the young man recognizes that it's a skeleton warrior, a rare monster that appears randomly. The protagonist's skeletons flee in terror with tears in their eyes while he watches from afar. Several skulls fly through the air, and notifications inform that he killed skeletons and leveled up. With his hammer on his shoulder and surrounded by his lackeys, he thinks it's great how things are going. He thought it would take longer for them to get used to the new weapon, but they're doing better than expected. With a confident smile, he believes this video will be a success and should contact Romini first. An image shows the evolution from a skull with a helmet to an ox, and then to a cute ox head. The protagonist yells for his skeletons to grab his meat, and they charge forward with glowing yellow eyes. Excited, he wonders what to eat first, steak or grilled, and bulgogi also sounds good. In the middle of the battle, he dodges a powerful blow from the skeleton warrior with its great weapon. The impact of the monster's attack on the ground creates a huge crater with red energy and debris. His skeletons are thrown far by the force of the explosion, and the ground shakes violently. Frightened, the young man thinks he almost died before even managing to do anything in the fight. The skeleton warrior, with a broken arm, stares at him, and the protagonist thanks for having attacked the arm first. With his hammer glowing blue, he counterattacks the skeletal monster with a powerful strike. Facing the immense skeleton warrior, he thinks about what he needs to do now to win this battle. With a smile and his lackeys by his side, he attacks with the hammer and shouts, "Pelvis Crusher!" The blow lands squarely on the skeleton warrior, who screams in pain from the powerful impact. After the fight, he asks if everyone is okay, and his 3 skeletons salute. Observing the defeated enemy on the ground, he comments that it was easier than he thought. With his back to the fallen monster and with his lackeys, he seems ready for the next challenge. With a confident smile and looking back, he thinks the enemy was too impatient in the battle. The skeleton mage prepares a fireball, and the protagonist says there's still one final blow left. With glowing purple eyes, the skeleton mage concentrates a large fire sphere in his hands. Then, the magical lackey launches the enormous fireball toward the remaining skeleton warrior. The monster is completely engulfed by the intense flames of the skeleton mage's magic. After defeating the skeleton warrior, he gains experience points and breathes a sigh of relief for the feat. While the skeleton burns, he hopes to get at least 10,000 views on this video. Suddenly, he feels hungrier and decides he will grill his meat to eat. However, a notification warns that the field boss detected the death of its lackey, and he is left shocked. Right after, another message appears saying that the camp boss found intruders and a symbol shines. Then a danger warning appears informing that the camp boss is awakening, and a magic circle appears. From the enormous magic circle, a gigantic skeletal hand and part of a golden helmet begin to emerge. The intense light reveals more of the boss, who wears golden armor and an imposing cape. Finally, the camp boss reveals himself as a giant crowned skeleton king, and the group watches in astonishment. With wide eyes and a somewhat crazy smile, the protagonist seems excited about the challenge. The golden skeleton, level 40, a boss monster, screams and stares at the protagonist with glowing eyes. His golden crown shines as he prepares imposingly for battle against the young man. This is the boss of the Forest of the Dead and the first boss of the mage class, known as the newbie killer. The protagonist realizes that the condition for him to appear was to defeat many skeletons, and he didn't even think about that. He can't guarantee that he can win, but if he does, it will definitely be the greatest luck of all. The young man already knows how, and if he can strengthen his skeleton somehow, he might succeed. And so he moves forward. With a blue glow in his eyes, he prepares for the intense fight against the powerful skeleton boss. Suddenly, a notification informs that the summoning has been undone due to lack of mana, and he is shocked. Desperate, he screams, and his skeletons seem worried about their master's situation. He summoned all 4 and made the mage use many spells, so there's no way to have mana left. Before the imposing golden skeleton, the protagonist realizes that now he has no other choice. With a smile and looking at his watch, he says it's time to warm up the body for the first time in ages. A sinister smile appears on his face as he prepares, and an imaginary switch is flipped. Then an intense blue and black aura surrounds the protagonist, who seems to have unleashed a new power. Facing the golden skeleton with his blue aura, he smiles and says, "Let's do this with determination." Quickly, he leaps over the skeleton boss, ready to deliver a powerful and fast blow. The golden skeleton conjures glowing magic symbols around himself, preparing a counterattack. With his hands together and surrounded by golden energy, the boss seems to be channeling a powerful spell. Multiple rays of golden energy are fired, and the protagonist dodges the boss's attacks nimbly. He thinks a single hit would kill him, and the boss launches so many attacks, living up to the title of newbie killer. He realizes he has no chance of winning if he lets the boss keep casting spells like that. So he decides that if that's the case, he needs to stop the boss from using his spells. With his blue aura and his hammer, he jumps toward the golden skeleton, determined to stop him. The protagonist's blow hits one of the boss's hands, shattering the bones with blue energy. The golden skeleton screams in pain from the attack, and the young man continues his relentless assault. The boss's golden magic circles begin to fade with the protagonist's interruption. The boy observes the boss and deduces that his hands are connected to the spells he casts. With a confident smile and his blue aura, he seems to have found a weakness in the powerful boss. The golden skeleton with a skull on his shoulder and golden energy in his mouth. He looks furious. Suddenly, a notification informs that the field boss is looking at him, and the young man becomes confused. The boss successfully analyzed him and is measuring his skill level while bringing together his skeletal hands. The golden skeleton's hands form a strange symbol, and a purple energy begins to emerge. Surrounded by purple lightning, the boss prepares a powerful attack, and the protagonist watches in fear. Confused, the young man wonders what the hell is happening with the skeleton boss and its new energy. An intense purple glow appears on the battlefield, indicating an imminent attack from the golden skeleton. Beams of purple energy are fired, and the protagonist desperately dodges the boss's strikes. He runs to escape from a huge purple beam that relentlessly chases him across the battlefield. Cursing the situation, he realizes the attack is catching up with him, and there isn't much he can do. With a determined look, he seems to be thinking of a way to escape or counterattack. While dodging, the protagonist is surrounded by purple explosions, and the ground trembles with the force of the attacks. A purple beam hits the ground, and the protagonist is thrown far by the blast's force. Lying down, his cape fluttering, he seems breathless and surprised by the boss's attack. With a shocked expression, he wonders what's with this crazy attack pattern he doesn't remember. The ground is cracked and filled with purple energy, and the protagonist seems to be in a difficult situation. Confused, he wonders if he's remembering the golden skeleton's attack patterns wrong. The golden skeleton stares at the protagonist, and he questions whether the boss has hidden patterns or was rebalanced. With a smile and shining eyes, he sighs and admits he doesn't know and can't remember the details. Gripping the handle of his hammer, he feels frustrated for not having summons and not remembering the patterns. Facing the skeleton boss and its purple attacks, he wonders how he's going to defeat that thing. The protagonist looks up at the purple, energy-filled sky while thinking of a strategy for the moment. Determined, he decides he will try everything he can to win this difficult battle. While dodging the purple beams, he seems to be analyzing the skeleton boss's movements. With a confident smile, he prepares to continue the fight, even with the intense attacks. He realizes he can dodge the attacks if he knows their trajectory by watching the purple glow. But the problem is that there is no time to counterattack while dodging the boss's strikes. Amid giant skeletal hands emerging from the ground, he needs to find a blind spot. With a surprised and slightly panicked expression, he realizes he made a mistake. He groans in pain as he is hit by one of the golden skeleton's attacks in the field. The skeleton boss, with glowing eyes, watches him as he is thrown into the air by the strike. Lying on the ground, he faces the enormous golden skeleton approaching for the final attack. With a tired smile, he curses the situation and wonders how many patterns the boss has. The golden skeleton conjures a huge golden magic circle, and the protagonist faces the attack. But with a confident smile, he reveals that he also has a card up his sleeve to use now. Using the skill Inflict Curse, he casts the demonic curse with a purple and black aura. An image of the skeleton of the boss appears with a purple aura. The notification says his stats dropped 13%. With a leap and blue energy, he dodges a strike from the weakened skeleton boss's hand. He didn't know how to get a chance to attack, but the curse gave him that opportunity. Thanking the opportunity, he concentrates his blue energy into his fist, ready for the final blow. With a shout, he delivers a powerful blue energy punch to the golden skeleton's chest. The impact of the blow creates a massive blue shockwave that spreads across the battlefield. The golden skeleton, with blue energy coming out of its mouth, seems to be defeated and falling. With a satisfied smile, the protagonist declares that the boss has finally been defeated. The golden skeleton explodes in golden energy, and the protagonist watches his victory on the field. Notifications inform that he killed the golden skeleton, gained experience and gold, earned the title Skeleton Destroyer, and leveled up. With a smile and surrounded by a dark aura, he laughs and seems very pleased with the result. He comments that it was close and he could have failed if the fight had lasted 10 more minutes while disabling the slot. His stats are shown: Hurcan, level 36, Necromancer, with 9 titles and his updated attributes. Excited, he celebrates reaching level 36 with several smiling faces in the background. But he knows it will be dangerous if he keeps going like this because his mana is low at the moment. His mana is at 141, and although it's not a low number considering the minimal investment, it's not enough. He thought he was doing fine with his titles and leveling up fast, but now he needs more. With more skills to use, his current mana is not enough to sustain his fighting style. He increased his strength for the skeleton warriors, but what good is it now that they're gone? Disheartened, he has already obtained all the mana titles he can at this stage and wants better equipment, but has no money. With a smile, he decides he doesn't know what to do and will simply keep playing for now. For now, he will send the video to Romini and try to reach level 40, and today he'll eat meat ramen. With a satisfied smile and shining eyes, the game screen shows boss successfully defeated. A pause symbol appears on the screen, indicating the end of the video or the gameplay recording. In a room, a pink-haired girl with headphones sighs while editing the video on her computer. Angrily, she punches a cat ear pillow, seeming frustrated about something. With crooked glasses and messy hair, she screams if he's crazy while continuing to punch the pillow. She can't believe he defeated a higher-level boss without taking a hit and did it without practice. He's talented. Slumped in her chair, she thinks the raw video is great and there's not much to edit, and decides to send the final file to him. Thinking of a title, she types on the keyboard, "The Man Who Dominates Skeletons. He Can Do Everything Alone." Her fingers keep typing quickly on the keyboard as she finalizes the video title. With an excited smile and glasses, she decides to go with that title, Emperor of Solo Gaming.